Opening the playbook. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we have a fascinating stack of sources, and we're not focusing on, dense grammar rules.
No, not at all.
We're looking at the simple but really powerful phrases that are, I guess, the fundamental building blocks of real-life conversation.
That's exactly right. Our listener, the learner, is looking for a shortcut, a way to gain knowledge quickly, and, more importantly, to sound natural right away.
And confident.
And confident, yes. And today's deep dive gives you that shortcut. We're really dissecting the politeness math of English, the few essential words you need to navigate pretty much any social situation.
We've pulled material that specifically focuses on making language small and easy, so moving past those huge, intimidating vocabulary lists in textbooks.
Yeah, and instead isolating the conversational bricks that everyone uses every single day.
Our mission today is to walk through a typical day, right? From getting your morning coffee to saying goodbye to a friend.
And we're going to show you exactly how a tiny shift in wording, say from a direct command to a polite request, can completely change how you come across.
Confident, respectful. It's about efficiency, but also cultural fluency. Okay, so let's unpack this. And where better to start than, of course, the coffee shop?
The essential location, the essential transaction. It's the perfect place to learn the crucial distinction between a command and a request.
Okay, so if I walk up and say, give me a large latte, what's wrong with that?
Well, you're issuing an imperative. It's just too direct. It comes across as almost aggressive, and it's definitely culturally jarring in English.
And this is where we have to really nail this idea of indirect speech. Why does English rely so much on not asking for things directly?
Because directness, especially in these kinds of transactional moments, often just reads as entitlement or aggression. So to maintain that sort of social distance and respect, we use what are called politeness hedges.
Politeness hedges.
Yeah, specifically modal verbs. This is probably the first level of sophisticated conversational fluency you really need.
So what are our best options here? The sources highlight two main ways to soften that request.
Okay, option one. This is the slightly more formal, universally respected way, and that is, I would like a coffee, please.
I would like...
Notice that conditional tense, would like. It doesn't say I want. It suggests a desire, but gently. It puts the whole thing in a hypothetical space.
And that distance equals respect.
Exactly. We aren't saying I want, we're offering a preference. So what about the other option, the friendlier one?
The more common one, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
That's, can I have a coffee, please? Or, even better, could I have a coffee, please?
What's the difference there? Can versus could.
It's subtle.
Yeah.
Can I have about capability? Is it possible for you to give me this? But could I have, again, uses that past tense modal verb and adds this extra layer of deference. It's just a little bit softer.
So if I'm at a really important business lunch, I might say, I would like the salad, please. But if I'm at my local coffee shop with a barista I know, I could say,
can I have my usual, please?
Mm.
Exactly. You calibrate the formality based on the relationship and the situation.
Yeah.
But, and this is important, regardless of which one you choose, would, can, or could, there's one small word that is completely non-negotiable.
The ultimate social lubricant, please.
Yes. It is the mandatory cultural signal of non-aggression in English requests. If you forget it, even the most perfect sentence just falls flat.
Just sounds wrong.
It sounds wrong. A native speaker might say, can I have a coffee? But the please is sort of implied in their tone. For the learner, my advice is never, ever drop it.
That's great advice. So the perfect morning order combines the soft request with that required hedge. Could I have a large coffee with almond milk, please?
Flawless. And now you have your coffee.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because we successfully navigated the coffee shop, now we head out into the crowded streets where we face a totally different kind of politeness test.
We're moving from the transactional to the physical space.
Yeah.
Imagine two scenarios. One, you're on a crowded bus and someone's bag is on the only empty seat.
Oh, I hate that.
Right. Scenario two, you're walking and someone is just standing, blocking the entire path.
You need to get their attention or get into their space, but, politely.
This is the perfect time for the power phrase. Excuse me.
Why does that one phrase work so well?
Because it's like a preemptive apology. It's a social traffic signal. You're
Yeah.
basically saying, I know I'm about to interrupt you or invade your personal bubble, but please give me permission.
It softens the whole intrusion before it even happens.
Exactly. So on the bus, you'd lean over and say, excuse me, is this seat taken?
Ah.
You signal that respect before you even ask the question.
And when someone's blocking the path?
You just use the phrase by itself, maybe with a little upward inflection. Excuse me. It's just a very easy, non-aggressive way to say, hey, could you please move?
Okay, so let's flip that. What if, instead of needing someone to move, you accidentally knock their brand new coffee right out of their hand?
Oh no, you've made the mistake. You've physically impacted them.
Right. Then the social signal changes immediately. You move to the post-apology. I'm sorry.
I love that synthesis the source material provided. It is the perfect mental shortcut for the learner.
It really is. Excuse me is used before you do something.
Before
You interrupt, before you ask for space, before you initiate contact. And I'm sorry is used after you make a mistake.
After the accidental bump, the spill.
The interruption.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to reach across someone at a desk, you say, excuse me, before you reach.
But if you knock over their water bottle while you're reaching.
You say, oh, I'm so sorry, after the fact. It is the simplest and most effective way to communicate that you recognize a social error has happened.
That clears up a huge source of confusion. Okay, let's transition. We've made it to the office, and now we have a different challenge. We need help. Your computer is frozen.
Right. And we learned that imperatives like help me are just rude. So in a professional context, we need maximum deference.
And the source is stress, using a very specific soft approach. And that phrase is, could you help me?
And this is why mastering those modal verbs is so crucial. Could you help me is so much better than can you help me?
Why is that?
Because can asks about their ability. Can you physically do this? Could introduces that hypothetical again. It asks if they would be willing to do it. It's an invitation, not a capability check.
It sounds so much less demanding. It gives them an easy out if they're busy, but it respects their time.
It's the ultimate key to making professional requests. And of course, we can combine it with our last lesson. You don't just interrupt. You say,
Excuse me, could you help me with this?
perfect. It just rolls off the tongue. You've acknowledged their presence.
Yeah.
You've requested their willingness, and you've identified the problem. It's efficient.
So once that crisis is averted, we move straight to the necessary follow-up, showing gratitude. The sources detail 3 tiers of thanking.
Right. So you can calibrate your appreciation perfectly.
Tier 1 is the most casual, for friends and family. Thanks. Short, sharp, informal.
Tier 2, the universal phrase. For everyone from a cashier to your boss. Thank you. Always appropriate.
Never too much, never too little.
Exactly.
Yeah?
And Tier 3, for when you're genuinely very grateful or you need to sound a bit more professional, is thank you so much or thank you very much.
And there are other variations too, right? Like in a work setting, you could say, I really appreciate your help.
Or much appreciated. Excellent additions. And in more casual settings, you might hear cheers, which is a very common friendly stand-in for thanks.
See, that depth is exactly what you need. Not just the phrase, but the context. Let's apply this to one more scenario. Shopping. You're in a huge supermarket looking for apples.
Okay, so you need to inquire. You should immediately use our help phrase combination.
Right. Excuse me, could you help me? Where are the apples?
That works perfectly. But the sources also offered another way, one that's a bit more direct about location.
Ah, right. Where can I find the apples?
Exactly. Both are excellent. And if they give you a vague answer, you can follow up with, which aisle is that, please?
Again, with the please on the end, it just keeps everything polite.
It's a habit you have to build. And that smoothly takes us through the workday. So now let's wrap up the day with some much-needed socializing.
Okay. Imagine you're walking home, you've got your apples, and you unexpectedly run into your old friend, Tom.
Well, the standard, hello, Tom, works. But the most natural, idiomatic greeting is, hello, Tom, long time no see.
I sometimes worry that long time no see sounds a bit dated, maybe like it's from an old movie. Is that true?
That's a fair question. It has been around for a long time, but it persists because it's just so concise. It means we haven't seen each other in a while, and native speakers of all ages use it constantly. It's warm and familiar.
Perfect. So you've chatted, but you need to make plans for later, say on Saturday.
The sources gave us 3 really useful planning phrases here, from formal to casual.
Okay, first, the direct and efficient one. Are you free on Saturday?
Second, a little more inviting. Do you want to meet on Saturday? That's pretty standard neutral ground.
And third, The super casual, natural-sounding phrase we hear all the time in movies, let's hang out.
And we really have to emphasize what hang out means. Learners can get this confused. It's about spending time together casually, relaxing, having fun. It is not a business meeting.
You're talking about chilling.
You are talking about chilling, exactly.
Yeah.
So if Tom likes the plan, what's his response?
His essential brick response is, sounds good.
It's short, it's positive, it's efficient. It just means, I agree, or that's a good plan. You could also hear, that works for me, or just perfect.
Okay, plans are set. Now for the graceful exit. You can't just walk away.
No, abrupt endings are jarring. The best way is to give a small reason why you're leaving. Just say, I have to go now.
That manages expectations and gives a clear closing signal. And then you follow up with a friendly farewell.
Right, something that solidifies the future plan. See you later, see you soon, or the very specific, see you on Saturday.
And finally, the universal closing phrase that works for everyone, from the cashier to your friend Tom.
Have a nice day.
It's just universally positive and so adaptable. You can change it for the time of day. Have a good evening. Have a great weekend.
It wraps up the whole interaction cleanly and leaves a really positive impression.
So what does this all mean? We've covered a whole day. We've used I would like for transactions, for public space. Could you help me? For assistance.
And then, long time no see, and have a nice day for those social connections.
These really are the fundamental bricks that, when you use them correctly, make you sound fluent, confident, and culturally aware.
And we hope you feel more confident now. The key takeaway here from all the sources is just to start small. Try to use one of these phrases today. Don't be afraid to speak.
And remember, if you fumble a phrase or you forget the word please, you now have the solution. You just pause, say, I'm sorry, and keep talking. The key is just to apply it.
Exactly. We've focused a lot on, polite social lubrication, but some phrases are essential for critical logistics.
Which brings us to our final thought for you to mull over. We focused on being polite, but what is another single, simple, universally essential logistical phrase that every learner must master one that doesn't involve please or thank you, but just unlocks vital information?
Think about the phrase that solves the most urgent non-social problem when you're in a new or stressful place. That phrase is just as crucial as any polite request we talked about today. What is that one phrase? Keep that ready in your mental toolbox.
We'll leave you to ponder that vital question. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mechanics of essential English conversation.
Keep practicing those bricks and have a nice day.